News Report 1, Investor Disappointment at Central Economic Work Conference Results Unsettles Markets. The Central Economic Work Conference concluded smoothly on December 12. However, the market expressed disappointment in its outcomes. This led to a massive withdrawal of funds by foreign institutional investors, totaling nearly 10 billion yen on the first trading day post-conference. The Shanghai-Hong Kong Stock Connect recorded a net sale of 5.77 billion yen, and the Shenzhen-Hong Kong Stock Connect net sales reached 3.819 billion yen. The significant outflow of funds had a profound impact on the Chinese stock market, with the Shanghai Composite Index opening and closing lower at 2,968 points, falling below the 3,000-point mark. The Shenzhen Component Index fell by 1.5% to 9,476 points, and the Growth Enterprise Market fell by 1.6% to 1,871 points. The Hong Kong stock market was also affected, with the Hang Seng Index closing at 16,228 points. This trading day marked investors expressing pessimism about the Chinese market by withdrawing their funds. A report by international rating agency Bloomberg predicts that China's economic growth rate will decrease from this year's 5% to 4.6% next year. The report suggests that China may adopt more fiscal policies to alleviate economic risks, but this could lead to an expanded fiscal deficit and an increased debt-to-GDP ratio. To address local debt issues, China might issue national bonds to expand its liabilities. Fitch Ratings also predicts a decrease in Hong Kong's economic growth to 3% next year, while Taiwan's economic growth is expected to rise from 1% to 2.8%. The Asian Development Bank, in a report on the same day, forecasts China's economic growth to be 5.2% this year but to decrease to 4.5% next year. Despite the Asian Development Bank mentioning a boost in China's economic growth due to third-quarter consumer spending and public investment, many economic data do not support this conclusion. Investors are generally cautious about the Chinese economy, and international institutions are skeptical about next year's economic development. However, the Chinese government remains optimistic about the economic performance. Han Wenxiu, vice chairman of the Central Financial and Economic Affairs Commission, stated in an event in Beijing that China's economic growth rate this year exhibits a low start, high middle, and stable end, and the main expected goals for economic and social development are expected to be achieved satisfactorily. Investors are skeptical of this viewpoint, believing that the Chinese government's propaganda may mask the true challenges facing the economy. News Report 2. China intervenes in Taiwan election through cognitive warfare, spreading nuclear war rumors. With only 31 days left until the Taiwan election, China is intervening through tactics such as military threats and spreading false information to influence cognitive warfare, putting voters in a dilemma of choosing war with the Democratic Progressive Party, DPP, or peace with the Kuomintang, KMT. This narrative has been passed down since the era of Qin Shi Bian, aiming to influence undecided voters through intimidation. According to the Taiwan Artificial Intelligence Lab on December 13, China continuously spread false information about nuclear war from November 30 to December 6. This misinformation included possible military aggression, the United States not supporting Taiwan, and potential military threats from the United States. Analysis shows that two specific Facebook groups collaborated to sensationalize nuclear war topics. These accounts left comments on the social media accounts of Tsai Ing-wen and Lai Ching-te, forming a pathway for the spread of cognitive warfare. Despite China's continuous interference in Taiwan's elections, the impact is not significant and has even assisted the DPP in campaign support. This is because the Chinese Communist Party's cognitive warfare often does not align with the public psyche of Taiwanese citizens, and most Taiwanese voters are not influenced by it. It mainly affects undecided voters. Taiwan's National Security Bureau chief, Tsai Ming-yen, stated that they have reported 700 false messages this year, and Taiwan has systematically deployed measures to counter cognitive warfare. Overall, Despite China's ongoing cognitive warfare efforts, Taiwan is well aware and has implemented effective measures, making the impact of cognitive warfare likely not significant. News Report 3, Countdown to Taiwan Election, Political Parties Face Challenges in Event Preparation. According to reports from Yiping News, the People's Party plans to hold a campaign rally on the evening of January 12, the day before the general election, on Kitagalan Boulevard in front of the presidential office in Taipei. However, there are doubts about whether the People's Party can hold the event on Kitagalan Boulevard, as they only have a 24-hour usage right. This right was applied for by the Democratic Progressive Party, DPP, from January 9 to 11 but was obtained by the People's Party on the last day. Since the event typically requires 3 days for setup, the People's Party might face challenges in terms of manpower and resources. On the other hand, the Kuomintang, KMT, secured the usage right for the Banqiao First Stadium in New Taipei City, where it is expected that Hou Yue will hold a pre-election campaign rally. In addition, on December 13, Jing News released the latest poll results. According to the survey conducted on December 10 and 11, the DPP's Lai Shirao pairing has a support rate of 33.5%, an increase of 3 percentage points from November. The KMT's Hou Yue pairing has a support rate of 25.2%, a decrease of 3.2%. The People's Party's Ko Wu pairing has a support rate of 23.7%, an increase of 1.6%. Thus, the gap between the blue-green camps has widened to 8.3 percentage points, while the difference between the blue and white camps is only 1.5 percentage points. In the legislative election, the KMT received 28.6% support, the DPP received 26.7% support, and the People's Party received 13.7% support. In the non-district legislator vote, the KMT received 31.5% support, the DPP received 29.4% support, and the People's Party received 20.3% support. Overall, the support rates for the three parties are relatively equal, and the DPP faces challenges in achieving its goals of winning the presidency and a majority in the legislature within a tight timeframe. News Report 4, Xi Jinping concludes Vietnam visit, agreements signed, but differences persist. According to Xinhua News Agency, President Xi Jinping has concluded his 2-day state visit to Vietnam, returning to Beijing on December 13. During his visit, Xi Jinping met with Vietnamese leaders, including General Secretary of the Communist Party of Vietnam Nguyen Phu Trong, President Nguyen Xuan Phuc, Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh, and National Assembly Chairwoman Vong Dinh Hue. The two sides signed 37 agreements covering various areas, such as diplomacy, cross-border railways, telecommunications, and trade. However, Vietnam did not provide a substantive response to these agreements, with Xi Jinping reiterating China's stance that Sino-Vietnamese relations are not to be interfered with by external forces. During the meeting, Xi Jinping emphasized the need to strengthen bilateral relations, elevating them to a community of common destiny. He urged mutual control of differences and steady progress in maritime cooperation. Nevertheless, experts pointed out that Vietnam harbors deep-seated distrust toward China, particularly concerning the South China Sea issue. The escalating tensions in the South China Sea territorial dispute have raised concerns in Vietnam about China's firm stance. While both countries signed numerous agreements, actual cooperation remains hampered, especially with no consensus reached on rare earth cooperation. The entire visit did not yield a notable improvement in bilateral relations. News Report 5, South Korea and Netherlands establish chip alliance to address supply chain crisis. According to Yonhap News Agency, on December 13, South Korean President Yoon Hee-jae held talks with Dutch Prime Minister Lodewijk and jointly issued a joint statement, officially announcing the establishment of a chip alliance between South Korea and the Netherlands. This collaboration aims to address the chip supply chain crisis, with both parties establishing a bilateral consultation mechanism in the economic security industry to swiftly resolve supply chain issues and maintain technological leadership. Specifically, South Korea and the Netherlands will establish an economic security dialogue mechanism, holding regular dialogues each year. The Ministry of Trade will set up a dialogue mechanism to coordinate chip policies. In addition, a supply chain consultation mechanism will be established to promote collaboration in the supply chain of key products. A supply bank consultation mechanism will also be established to further facilitate collaboration in the supply chain of critical products. This collaboration is seen as a significant attempt to make a breakthrough in the chips sector and strengthen cooperation between South Korea and the Netherlands in economic security and technology. If successful, the alliance is expected to form a powerful competitive force against rivals such as China on the international stage. News Report 6: EU announces economic security measures to reduce trade risks with China. On December 12, EU Trade Commissioner Dombrovskis delivered a speech in the EU Parliament, announcing that the EU would introduce a comprehensive set of economic security measures in January next year to reduce risks in its trade relationship with China. These measures aim to prevent technological leaks, uphold international peace and security, and update foreign investment regulations to prevent hostile forces from acquiring EU infrastructure. While not explicitly naming China, the focus of these measures is evidently on the EU's relationship with China. Earlier, the EU Parliament also passed a crucial raw materials bill to reduce dependence on China's major imported products. This action signifies a more proactive stance by the EU on Sino-European trade issues, emphasizing concerns about economic security. EU Commission President von der Leyen had previously linked similar measures to China in a public speech. However, these actions also reflect the divergences between China and the EU in trade and technological cooperation, especially in terms of technology transfer and trade balance. The lack of improvement in relations at the China-EU summit, coupled with the EU's latest move, suggests that economic cooperation between China and the EU may face more challenges. News Report 7: Chinese gold prices reach historic highs. In recent times, due to concerns about economic and currency weakness, Chinese citizens' demand for gold has shown a robust trend, leading to a continuous rise in Chinese gold prices, even surpassing international benchmark prices. From the beginning of this year until early August, Chinese gold prices mainly remained below the international benchmark level. However, the upward momentum became significant thereafter. According to statistics, China accounted for 20% of global gold demand in terms of jewelry and investment gold in the previous year, reaching 789 tons, making China the world's largest gold consumer. As of mid-September, Chinese gold prices reached historic highs, exceeding the London spot price by $100 per ounce. Despite the Chinese government lifting restrictions on gold imports, the high demand for gold among domestic citizens has kept Chinese gold prices at elevated levels. As of the morning of December 12, the premium of Chinese gold prices per ounce compared to the London spot price was as high as $40. Citizens generally believe that factors such as tense international relations and the potential outbreak of war globally contribute to the continuous rise in gold prices. Investors state that, given the currently low deposit interest rates and the significant risks in stock market investments, gold has become their trusted and secure investment choice. This trend reflects the high level of trust among the Chinese people in gold as a safe haven investment. News Report 8: Renminbi hits 4-week low against the US dollar, market worries about economic outlook. On December 13, the renminbi to US dollar exchange rate fell to 7.1860 during intraday trading, reaching the lowest level in 4 weeks, ultimately closing at 7.1660, a decrease of 92 basis points from the previous day. Offshore renminbi also briefly approached 7.2 against the US dollar, quoting 7.1876 at 10 a.m. US Eastern Time. The People's Bank of China announced a renminbi midpoint of 7.126 on the same day, a rise of 48 basis points from the previous trading day. Analysts point out that due to the absence of robust economic stimulus measures in the Central Economic Work Conference, market optimism is waning. Combined with lackluster performance in Chinese economic data, the renminbi is facing downward pressure. Additionally, the financial data released by the People's Bank of China for November failed to uplift market sentiment. Renminbi loans for November amounted to 1.09 trillion yuan, slightly below the market expectation of 1.3 trillion yuan. Social financing was 2.45 trillion yuan, with a year-on-year increase of 455.6 billion yuan, but still below market expectations. Broad money supply, M2, grew by 10% year-on-year, decreasing by 0.3% from the previous month. This series of data has sparked market concerns about the economic outlook, making the renminbi to US dollar exchange rate decline a focal point in the market. News Report 9, Philippine ambassador to the U.S., South China Sea may become the next global conflict hotspot. On December 13, the Philippine ambassador Romualdez, in an interview with Nikkei News, stated that the next potential global conflict hotspot might shift from Taiwan to the South China Sea. He pointed out that any minor conflicts between the Philippines and China in the South China Sea could escalate into a serious confrontation at any time. Romualdez mentioned that during a meeting between Philippine President Marcos and Chinese President Xi Jinping, Marcos explicitly expressed willingness to resolve disputes through dialogue. However, Xi Jinping did not make any commitments, merely listening and suggesting further discussions by defense and diplomatic officials. He believes that the only way for multiple countries to counter China's aggressive behavior is to demonstrate military strength. As an example, last month, the Philippines and the United States conducted joint air and sea patrols. U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman Milley and Philippine Armed Forces Chief of Staff Bruel discussed common strategic security interests and opportunities to enhance military cooperation, including maritime cooperation, improving interoperability and information sharing, and increasing training and exercises. Philippine Defense Minister Teodoro stated that currently, Japan, New Zealand, the UK, Canada, and France are all candidate countries for multilateral patrols in the South China Sea. News Report 10, Japanese government decides to enhance defense capability of airports and ports in response to emergency situations in Southeast Asia. According to a joint news report, the Japanese government has decided to enhance the defense capabilities of 13 airports and 19 ports starting next year to respond to potential emergencies, especially in the unstable situation in Southeast Asia. These 32 facilities are located in Hokkaido, Kyushu, and Okinawa, with Okinawa having the highest number of facilities at 12. The plan includes extending runways and constructing aprons at airports to ensure the effective use of fighter jets and transport aircraft. In addition, ports will undergo dock construction and deepening of harbor depths to allow for more flexible use of transport and escort vessels. This decision demonstrates the Japanese government's further measures to strengthen national defense in the current geopolitical environment. News Report 11, UN Climate Conference reaches historic agreement after day-long overnight negotiations. On December 13, following intense overnight negotiations, the United Nations Climate Conference reached a historically significant agreement on the same day. Representatives from various countries agreed to collectively reduce dependence on fossil fuels and promote the international community's transition from fossil fuels to other more environmentally friendly energy sources. Despite opposition from oil-producing countries, representatives eventually reached an agreement. However, the specific text of the agreement does not use wording that entails the gradual elimination of fossil fuels. This marks the first time in 30 years of the UN Climate Conference that an agreement has been reached to explicitly abandon fossil fuels such as oil, natural gas, and coal. The agreement explicitly requires countries to achieve the goal of the energy system transitioning away from fossil fuels by 2050 to achieve net zero emissions. Simultaneously, countries are required to accelerate the development of carbon offset and storage technologies, gradually phasing out industries that are difficult to decarbonize. UN Climate Conference President El Jarab emphasized that the true success of the agreement will depend on the practical actions of countries. Currently, fossil fuels, including coal, still account for 80% of the global energy supply. News Report 12. Chinese Ministry of Finance holds meeting with Hong Kong bankers to discuss elevating international financial center status. On December 13, the Chinese Ministry of Finance held a meeting with Hong Kong bankers in Hong Kong, with representatives from Standard Chartered Bank, HSBC, and Bank of China, Hong Kong, attending. The theme of the meeting was to discuss how to elevate Hong Kong's status as an international financial center and consolidate its position by strengthening cooperation with the mainland. Hong Kong's financial industry has faced serious challenges this year, with 30 local brokerages closing, and the total IPO fundraising amounting to only $5.1 billion, the worst performance since 2001. Hong Kong, originally an international financial center, has suffered a severe blow to its financial industry due to the implementation of the National Security Law by the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, turning it into an international financial wasteland. The decision to hold a meeting between the Ministry of Finance and Hong Kong bankers has sparked controversy. Many believe that after the CCP implemented the national security law in Hong Kong, discussing ways to enhance Hong Kong's status as an international financial center is displeasing. News Report 13. The Chinese University of Hong Kong dismisses Vice-Chancellor Wu Shuping over anti-extradition movement statements. On December 13, the Board of Governors of the Chinese University of Hong Kong announced the dismissal of Vice-Chancellor Wu Shuping. Wu had served as vice-chancellor since 2017, and during the 2019 anti-extradition movement, Hong Kong police had entered the Chinese university to arrest students. Wu stood between the police and students, stating that the Chinese university is a campus where the police cannot enter at will, and rebutted smearing remarks against students made by Hong Kong pro-establishment lawmaker Leung Mei-fun. Earlier, the CUHK Board of Governors underwent a restructuring, increasing the proportion of external members from 50% to 66%, and granting the government the right to send external personnel to take over the university. Wu participated in a joint petition opposing this restructuring, but was dismissed by the Board of Governors. Chairman Zhao Yicha said that Wu's opposition to the university board's restructuring was the reason for his dismissal, and the board had lost confidence in Wu's performance. Wu Shuping released a statement expressing shock and indignation at being dismissed and stated that he was not given a chance to defend himself. This decision has garnered public attention, leading to questioning of the CUHK Board of Governors.